Behold, we have literally just walked into the most visited room in the world. Many people know Michelangelo by his famous sculpture David, but the Sistine Chapel ceiling is perhaps his most renowned work of art. It took 4 years to execute this masterpiece. The elaborately ornamented ceiling, a papal chapel built within the Vatican around 1477, contains 343 figures and depicts the story of the Old Testament, including the creation, the fall of man, and the promise of salvation through the prophets and the life of Jesus. The 9 central panels are the most famous and depict the book of Genesis, from God's creation of earth and mankind to the story of Noah and the great flood. My eyes slowly traced the bold and brightly repainted images and prophetic figures like Abraham sacrificing Isaac, and the Sibyls, who were prophetic women who were resident at shrines or temples throughout the classical world. They predicted the coming of Christ. There's so much to take in that it is overstimulating. Some of the scenes are immediately apparent. The scenes from the altar toward the main door are the separation of light and darkness, the creation of the sun, moon, and earth, the separation of land and water, the creation of Adam, the creation of Eve, the temptation and expulsion, the sacrifice of Noah, the great flood, the drunkenness of Noah. The 3 creation pictures show scenes from the first chapter of Genesis, which relates that God created the earth and all that is in it in 6 days, resting on the 7th day. In the first scene, the first day of creation, God creates light and separates light from darkness. In another scene, God divides the water from the heavens. The creation of Adam is the best known, having an iconic standing equaled only by Leonardo da Vinci's Mona Lisa, the near-touching hands of God and Adam being reproduced in countless imitations. Michelangelo's creation of Adam is one of the most replicated religious paintings of all time. Years after he completed the ceiling frescoes, Michelangelo was brought back to Rome to paint the Last Judgment on the altar of the Sistine Chapel, which is mostly in blue. It illustrates the second coming of Christ and the last judgment by God of all humanity. While the Sistine Chapel is most famous for Michelangelo's frescoes, but long before Michelangelo, several leading painters of the late 15th century were commissioned, such as Botticelli, who frescoed the 2 long walls of the chapel. One side told the story of Moses, the other the story of Christ. Nearly 20,000 visitors pass through the Vatican museums in a summer's day, and the sacred ceiling of the Sistine Chapel is understandably the biggest attraction. Trying to block out the crowd, I imagine how it is to stand here alone and in silence, awestruck.